The Senate Majority PAC is going to spend about $240 million to reserve spots on TV in key swing states across the country. About $23 million will go to Ruben Gallego, who is expected to wage a fierce campaign against Republican frontrunner Kari Lake. A spokesperson for the PAC says this is just a first step. Meanwhile, their Republican rivals in the Senate have not yet said much about their plans. And it appears that former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's revenge tour has come to Arizona. Republican Congressman Eli Crane, who voted to oust McCarthy last year, now faces a challenger in the GOP primary, former Yavapai County Supervisor Jack Smith. According to previous reports, McCarthy named Crane as one of his top 3 political targets. At the state capitol, Republicans are vowing to keep sending border and immigration bills to Governor Katie Hobbs. This comes after the Democratic governor vetoed a proposal last week that would have allowed police to enforce federal immigration law. Senate President Warren Peterson says they will send that bill back to her again this year.
And speaking of Gallego, he is expected to be out with his first campaign ad of the cycle tomorrow, the beginning of a long year of political ads. Back to you guys.
Yeah, so Gallego's getting this huge chunk of cash from the Senate Majority PAC. Do you think Kari Lake is going to get an influx of cash from the Republicans, the Minority PAC? I guess?
There is the rival PAC over in the Senate. That's the big question tonight.
Is that Mitch McConnell's?
Yes, and that's associated with Mitch McConnell, and that's the big key question. There are reports that Kari Lake is in D.C. right now trying to raise money. She is speaking to lobbyists out there, according to these reports. She's also racked up some pretty key endorsements for some high-ranking senators, which I'm sure her campaign, her supporters would like to see translated into some cash, some support on her behalf as this race goes on.
Yeah, it's only March, and we've got a long way to go until November.
Get used to those campaign ads.
No kidding. Thank you, Dennis. Well, President